Friends, you heard that right. In California, they do not recognize any type of transportation as a serious felony. Last week, the Speaker of the House invited both Democrats and Republicans to a free screening of Sound of Freedom. The free screening came and went, and not one single Democrat showed up. Today, we dig for the truth to see what all happened, but more importantly, why. And what we find may shock you. If you have an appreciation for truth and honesty with no spin, you are in the right place. Thanks for being here. You are important to us. If you like what we do here, the best way to support us is not sending us money at all. Like the video, comment on the video, and most importantly, go watch our other shows. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy had a great idea. This movie, Sound of Freedom, is really important. It has a great message. Let's get everybody at the House there to watch the film. Let's see what McCarthy said before the movie started.
One of my goals is to open up the House and get members working together again. We've made some great progress in that, where bills actually come through committees, where members are now showing up for work. And so tonight, I'm going to have another movie night. We're going to show The Sound of Freedom. And Jim Caviezel, who stars in the movie, and Tim Ballard, what the movie is about. I'm hoping Republicans and Democrats can come together, see a movie about human trafficking. We're going to actually find ways to stop the human trafficking that's continuing to move throughout the world.
So it certainly appears that the Speaker had the best of intentions. After all, how could there be a more worthy cause to fight against human and child transportation? And as you are all aware, the problem with this is that Democrats didn't want to go to the party. Not a single one. 0 for 222. And what we find may shock you. And our friends from the Washington Examiner reports House Democrats snub Sound of Freedom. And I love how they open this story, saying, to show just how important seeing the box office hit on child transportation is, Sound of Freedom, conservative talk show host Mark Levin, the great one, did something he hasn't done in 21 years of hosting the Mark Levin Show. He skipped Tuesday. Totally got to take a shot here. Don't forget, Republicans actually like to go to work. Levin decried how the left has politicized the film, claiming it has links with the Q conspiracy theories. So the Republicans see the film. Let's see how it went. The good people at the Catholic News Agency reports the Capitol Hill screening was sponsored by Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, who was joined by Representative Christopher Smith on stage. Other members of Congress were in attendance, as well as former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, his wife Callista Gingrich, Ballard, and Caviezel were also at the screening. And the Speaker says, "We are making history tonight. The film that we are showing on Capitol Hill today addresses issues that are so urgent and important to which we must all commit ourselves." I love the fact that McCarthy is saying we're making history tonight, and a line in the sand has been drawn. Clearly, there are people who are against this great evil in the world, and there are people who don't mind it so much. And what we find may shock you. So McCarthy follows this up, and he talks about how he would like to see this with President Biden. Let's listen.
But when you watch and get to the end, then you think today as a policymaker, I would love to sit down and watch this with the president. What is transpiring to these young children? The human trafficking that is going on. Let's not put politics around it. Let's put these children first.
A whole lot of class being shown right there from the Speaker. In that moment, he could have absolutely blasted the Democrats and didn't do it. So Sound of Freedom is about to begin its first wave of international releases, and many of our international friends have been waiting for this global box office event. But remember, it was just last week we said, stay vigilant to all of our international friends. The attack is coming. What has happened in America will happen abroad, and now we know it's already happening. The enemies of this film and the proponents of transportation are trying to shoot this movement down before it even lands overseas. The movie's not even out over there yet, and none of those bozos have even seen it. So how and why are they attacking it? It's really simple. They're nothing more than parrots, and Polly wants a cracker. So an active viewer here at the channel, our friend Martin, sends this message. Hi, regular listener based in Israel. Sound of Freedom hasn't come out here yet, but local coverage have already started the conspiracy theories around anti-Semitism. And I want to say thank you, Martin, for sending that in. We don't want just viewers here. We want active participants. And thank you in your efforts in getting this to us. We would have missed it. And what we find may shock you. Surprise blockbuster, Sound of Freedom echoes anti-Semitic Q conspiracies, and that's the headline headline from the Times of Israel. It doesn't matter what country they're in, all of these fanatics are the same. They've got this scathing headline, but it really gets juicy in the subheading. Thriller's ideology draws on blood libel canard, expert says, and star Jim Caviezel has floated anti-Jewish conspiracy theories while promoting the film. And that right there, my friends, is exactly the kind of evil spin that the media can use. So let's analyze this spin. First two words, surprise blockbuster. The movie is coming to Israel. Everybody over there knows that this movie is wildly popular. It's making millions of dollars at the box office, so that's irrefutable. They're gonna acknowledge that and call it a surprise blockbuster, but it's what comes after that to just suck the air right out of the balloon. Sound of Freedom echoes anti-Semitic Q conspiracies. So what they're saying there is this movie, this film, hates you, and you don't need to go see it because you will be supporting anti-Semitism. Now let's look at this evil garbage in the subheading, talking about blood libel canard. What they're saying there is that it is the belief of this film that Jews are murdering Christian boys and using their blood in religious ceremonies.
And what we find may shock you.
Now, we're 3.5 weeks into the game here with Sound of Freedom, and if there was irrefutable evidence that the movie was about that, it would be all over the place. There's not evidence. They just keep screaming it out to try to kill the momentum of the film. So the attacks are already underway around the world, but they continue to further here in America. A report from Religion Unplugged, one of the dumbest and most evil sites you could ever go and visit. In fact, if you want to know what crazy people think, this is where you go to see it. Sound of Freedom is a preachy action film that will put you to sleep if you're lucky. And here comes the massive spin, saying another odd aspect about this movie. When it comes to faith, despite the fact that the movie is made by a faith-based studio and largely promoted to a faith-based audience, its references to faith are minimal. We hear a few mentions of God, but nothing that would offend anyone of any faith. It's hard to know whether this is a good strategy or not. If you're going to do faith at all, why not go all the way? Do they really think that if they keep discussions of God to a minimum, more people will see the movie? It will be interesting to see if this will be the direction Angel Studios will go with other projects and how that goes for them. Did you catch that massive spin? After 3.5 weeks of the media continuing to pound on this movie about being far-right, a faith-based film tied to Q conspiracies, now they say the movie's not faith-based enough. And of course, all of that is spin to the max because we know that the movie was made by Fox, bought by Disney, and distributed by Angel Studios. We already know all that.
May shock you.
The issue of human transportation is not just happening at the federal level, it is local and state as well. Less than 2 weeks ago, California Democrats blocked a bill that would identify child transportation as a serious felony. Friends, you heard that right. In California, they do not recognize any type of transportation as a serious felony. Californians have the 3 strikes law. Californians who get the 3rd strike of a serious felony could get 25 years to life in prison. But child transportation is not on the list. Things are heating up. Do you see where we're going with this? If you are a convicted pedo, another one of those words I wish I could say what I really want to say, then you're going to get a slap on the wrist. So much has changed in the last 10 years in our country. Just look at this report 10 years ago on this issue. Look at the bipartisan effort. Back in 2014, the Hill reports both parties agreed time to end human transportation. And you see who was involved with this? The former Representative Karen Bass, the Democrat from California, and Ted Poe, Republican from Texas. The report says that last June, Republican and Democratic women members of the House of Representatives joined forces to sign a proclamation that our daughters are not for sale, when they declared a shared commitment to end human transportation and exploitation of American girls. And thankfully, it was not long until the men followed suit with a Fathers of Congress event with members from both parties and both representatives and senators coming together for one single purpose: giving their voices to help girls in the United States who were being bought and sold for sex. So let's see what exactly has happened in the less than 10 years since that bipartisan effort came about. I still see a lot of Republicans fighting for anti-transportation. What's happening with the Democrats? Less than 2 years after that bipartisan effort that we just looked at between both Republicans and Democrats to end transportation, this conversation started. Pedo, a sexual orientation like being straight or gay. And of course, many of you know that the far left Democrats are saying that being a pedo is sexual orientation. It's no different than saying, I'm a man, you're a woman, and you're a pedo, which is one of the most idiotic and evil things one could possibly say. I mean, think about it. They're literally trying to make the case that it is written in your DNA that you are a pedo and you cannot help it. By your very nature, you were born with the nature to want to have sexual relations with this 8-year-old. And over time, more and more people have begun to claim that word. According to Screen and Reveal, there are over 42 million adult sexual abuse survivors in the United States. They also report that girls are 2 to 3 times more likely to be molested. Children with disabilities are almost 3 times more likely to suffer sexual assault. And in 2022, they reported that there are over 500,000 active predators on the internet every day. Democrats aren't going to the movie. They're not talking about the movie. They're continually attacking the movie, and they're going to slap people on the wrist for carrying out any of these atrocities. I cannot stress to our international friends around the world, do not let these crazy people stop you from seeing Sound of Freedom. Every single one of their pathetic attacks on this movie and movement has been debunked right here on this channel. These Democrats hate this film, they hate the movement, they hate America, and they hate you. To the Democrats who still have a shred of decency and morality, stand up for what is right and stop following your extremist leaders like sheep. It makes me think of a lyric that I heard in an old Southern gospel song the other day. If you keep going down the road to hell, be careful, because one day you'll get there. Thank you for being here and watching the show today. Please give us a like on today's show and a comment, but most importantly, go watch our other shows. I pray that the Lord rains down his blessings on you and draws you nearer to him in Jesus' name. Amen.